the lecture series on NCC, the largest youth organization of the world. This is Captain Binoy Varakil, Company Commander, 2 30 Kerala Battalion, NCC, St. Joseph's College, Devagiri, Kozhikode. In fact, the previous session we studied about the great organization NCC, and we saw the functioning of NCC at the national level. Top national level, we have the headquarters at Delhi, headed by the DG NCC, Director General of NCC, and down the line we have seen different directorates at 17 states. And also we saw at the staff pattern in NCC, of course, with the permanent regular officers of the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force, and of course the ANOs and other supporting staff of NCC. And today we move forward to the very training of NCC. Training is very important, and NCC, the largest national organization of the world, especially the largest youth organization of India, is well structured, and it has a number of training activities which help the molding of the cadets into the best individual, the best personality, the best leader. And we are today looking at the training in NCC, the good, and all the people, the officers and the leaders in this great organization, they have just charted out a number of well-structured programs and NCC activities, and with the help of this number of so many activities, NCC activities, of course, we have very good programs all through the year, training year. And as a result of this kind of effective and successful training activities, cadets benefit tremendously. Each and every cadet in NCC can tremendously benefit because of the multifarious, the various activities in the National Cadet Corps. And today we are discussing the different training activities in NCC, and we can see that the intensive training NCC activities can be of three types. Number one, we have the basic training activity. Number two, we have the advanced training activity. And number three, we have specialized NCC activities. So we have well organized and well structured NCC training activities, and we have the basic training activities, in which of course the students are given, the cadets are given basic instruction of the personality development, inculcating good values and all. And later stage, of course, we have advanced advanced kind of training. And third, we have specialized training. Specialized training is, of course, it refers to the army related, the armed forces related, how, of course, the weapons, cadets are given training in weapons and all. Okay, so we have three types of training in NCC: basic, advanced, and specialized. And all these three types of training is given in, of course, institutional. Number one, on it is given at the level of institutions, and number two, it is given through the camps. All right, and this lecture we are discussing the kind of training that is given at the institution. So part one of this lecture will be discussing training given to the NCC cadets at institutions, or rather, of course, the training activities. And number two, we will be part two. After first session, we'll be discussing different types of camps in NCC. There are different types of camps, right? So first we will look at training activities, right? And in fact, the NCC training activities, there are 6 types of NCC training activities, and let's just discuss each of these training activities one by one. And when we discuss the 6 types of NCC training activities, first we have the institutional training. So this is of course very important, institutional training. And institutional training is just given at the schools and colleges. Institutional training is given at the schools and colleges. So schools and colleges, we have the institutional training, and it is given by, of course, the associate NCC officer, the permanent instructors, and of course, maybe resource persons are, of course, coming from outside. Okay, so the institutional training is given at schools and colleges. It can be weekly basis, often, or even monthly basis. We are giving the institutional training. So on Saturdays and maybe on Sundays, the holidays, or other, sometimes even weekdays, the training is given at institutions. And we have all these activities are known as parades. Parades we have in institutions, right? That is training activity number 1, institutional training at schools and colleges, given as parades on weekdays as well as Saturdays and Sundays. Weekly basis, monthly basis, we have the training. That is training activity number 1. Number 2 of the training activity is camp training. We have, of course, a number of camps. We are just going to discuss all the different types of camps in NCC after some time. So normally the camp training given to NCC cadet will be of the duration of 10 to 12 days, and camp life is quite wonderful to the NCC cadets, because a camp is arranged in maybe a campus or a school or a college or a university campus, or sometimes, of course, under the different battalions or group headquarters, right? We have the camps going on, and all the cadets, they just come to the place where they are coming to a camp, and they're just staying there. It's residential, all right, 10 to 12 days. They are away from the parents, and they just live with maybe students from different parts of the state, from, of course, different parts of the country, and they just live school, junior division school boys and girls, similarly senior division college boys and girls, they just live together. And this camp training is very crucial for the inculcation, or of course the development of personality development. They will just eat, drink, interact, and they will of course participate in a number of learning activities, and all these camp activities will help them to become a very good person, because they're just living away from their parents, and of course they're just trying to be self-reliant. And after the 10 days camp, or rather 12 days camp, it will be very nice to see the witness of the cadets. They say that the 12 days camp or the 10 days camp really changed them, and that is the camp training is the second training. And the third training is, of course, attachment training. That is very important. So attachment training is the third training, attachment training. And in attachment training, what happens is, right, these are also camps, right? So this attachment training is also given in camps, and the attachment training is given in different institutions, or of course academies, or like the Indian Military Academy, or like the Officers Training Academy, or even like of course the National Defense Academy. All right, these academies are arranging training, or like 15 days training, or even maybe 10 days or 12 days or 15 days training. Maybe duration could be longer, And the Army, Navy, and Air Force, along with, of course, these academies, is arranging training and such type of training which are, of course, attached to the Army, Navy, Air Force training institutions like the Indian Military Academy or even the Officers Training Academy are known as attachment training. And of course, this attachment training will also be a very good experience and very effective for the cadets because they can benefit a lot. They learn a lot from, of course, these attachment training. And now we look at the fourth type of NCC training, and it is in fact known as the naval wing activities. So the naval wing of the NCC, naval wing activities. So the naval wing of the NCC is arranging a number of activities, a lot of activities, and it is not just limited for, it is not just for the naval cadets alone. It is open to, of course, interested cadets from Army, Navy, and Air Force. And the naval wing activities include a lot of programs like seamanship, right? Okay. Seamanship is, of course, just boarding the ship and just having, or the cadet is given an opportunity for maritime activities in the naval ship, okay, in the Navy ships, right? Okay. And naval wing activity number one is, of course, right, seamanship. Number two is navigation, like just maritime activating, right, just traveling or moving, sailing in the sea, right, depending on devices and all. So that is navigation. Number three is, of course, right, communication in, right, the ships, and of course that is again another three. So we have seamanship, navigation, communication, and of course naval warfare activities are taught to the cadets. Cadets get a chance to know how the navy of India, the naval force of India, is used in warfare, and what all weapons are there in a ship. And then besides that, of course, the cadets will be given special training in very essential skills like swimming, diving, windsurfing, and of course other related activities, right? So the naval wing of the NCC is having a number of programs, and all this is helping the cadet to grow into a successful individual who has multi-talents, right? Now, after that, we are just moving forward to the fifth, the last but one activity, that's the air wing activity. The air wing activity. So the Air Force wing of the NCC is also arranging a lot of programs, and all this is just really very adventurous. And when a cadet, everybody is having fear, everyone is having fear. I have fear, you have fear, we all have fear, and the air wing activities are, of course, just helping us to free ourselves from fear. And the activities of the air wing NCC is, number one is airmanship, right? The life of an airman, exposure to the life of an airman. And again, next is, of course, right, aero modeling. Aero modeling is another air wing activity. Aero modeling, right, making the different models of aeroplanes and flights, war flights and war aeroplanes and choppers, helicopters, etc. So that is airmanship, aero modeling, and navigation, okay, in the flights, navigation in the flights, and how the pilots are just flying the aeroplane and such things, right? Then, of course, right, we have training in aero engines, and of course airframes and microlight flying, etc. The training is given. That is air wing activity. And now we move on to the last activity, that is, right, It is a special kind of activity. The sixth training activity is a special kind of training activity, that is remount and veterinary activity. That is it, right? Remount and veterinary activity. Veterinary activity. Yeah, that is it, right? Remount and veterinary. And it is not it is not available everywhere. It is just this training, remount and veterinary activities training, that is just meant for horsemanship and riding. So riding, right? Riding a horse and how to care for the horse. Okay, so all this required for, of course, life in the army. All right, so a horseman, see, sometimes they may have to depend on horses for traveling, right? So in order to, of course, help an individual depend on horse for galloping or riding or traveling, horsemanship is given training. Training is given in horsemanship and, of course, riding, and that is given in certain places in the country, and that is, of course, the sixth training activity in NCC, remount and veterinary activity. So let us just sum up. In NCC, we have, of course, training given through institutions. There are a number of training activities. Number one is institutional training. Number two is CAM training. Number three, attachment training. Number four, naval wing training. Number five, air wing activities. And number six, remount and veterinary activities. Okay, so next session of this lecture, we are discussing different types of camps in NCC. Camp life is very important in NCC, and next lecture we will be discussing, after a break, we are discussing types of camps in NCC. There are, in fact, different types of camps, and we are just looking at all the NCC camp activities in the next lecture. Thank you so much for listening. May God bless you. Jai Hind.